Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Lights Out League Racing Season 26, the finale, race 12, at the home of Motorsport Silverstone, here in the sunny UK. You don't say that often. It's absolutely fucking freezing in real life, but it's glorious sunshine where we are. Good evening to Callum, good evening to Marty, and good luck to everybody. Out of the 10 drivers we do currently have on track, Theo leading us out in the Haas, and I've just got to say it's been an absolutely fantastic season. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I congratulate, commemorate and appreciate everybody involved that's been part of what we've achieved, and it all comes down to this. It is a race just for fun. It is a race of see who can get on the podium at the end. Amadi is the constructors the drivers champion, and him and Marty both constructors championship, clinching that last week's race at Canada. Amadi taking home another race win and has shown his pure dominance and pace of the season. I think it's just his consistency and his attendance more than anything has benefited his outright win. There's one or two on the grid that could compete with him, and Callum overtaking. So I think the Haas drivers will be doing a bit of team play during quali. Both, unfortunately, as mentioned, crashing out last week. Let's hope they don't do that this week, and let's hope Callum doesn't do it on the first flying lap of his qualifying session. So as he goes over the start-finish line, down to turn one of Abbey, where it's flat out, remain as you run around on the left-hand side of turn 3 on Village. You want to avoid the sausage curb on the inside, round loop, which is slowest corner on the circuit, flat out round Aintree down the Wellington Straight, which of course is one of the DRS zones where we might see one or two bits of overtaking. Sharp break at Brooklands, and a smooth right-hander of Luffield when you're going to out back into in. You don't want to hug that apex because you will lose a bit of time. Exit of Woodcote, down the National Pit Straight, the old pit stop. And then you can do flat out round cops, depending on your tyre wear during the race. Now, famous Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel exit, where a lot of cars do tend to push the limits and invalidate their corners, especially on the exit and coming out of Chapel, down the Hanger Straight. And again, there's another DRS zone, and one or two drivers will look at overtaking down Stowe. We head to the final few corners of the circuit, and the last few corners of Club corners, onto the Hamilton Straight, and Callum crosses line with a 26.3, followed by Theo, who slips behind him with 27.5. So I think Theo's made a bit of an error on his first flying lap as Capstock goes into provisional P2 with a 27 flat. So there's a bit of gap between him and Callum. Next to come across the line, as Sygate has him, I think he's invalidated, he has, so he's not going to be setting a time right now. As Metal Mike, for some reasons, in the kick Sauber today again. He's having a bit of a jolly, but he's invalidated also, so he's not going to improve. He is, of course, part of the Visa RB team, and good to see him on track. Burnley 2-0. Burnley, fucking it, Burnley. As we'll check on with the Haas boys, see if they are doing pushing a couple of laps. I would have thought there wouldn't be enough tyre wear to do another lap, but these guys do surprise me, and no, Theo is coming in on this lap. That's Caps Lock slot behind, so Terry's is on his first flying lap, and behind him is Jack's on his. A little bit slow there. Round Vale. for Terry's, but gets himself provisional P3 of the 27.3. With Marty, who's invalidated, so he's not going to be setting a lap. As we'll jump on with Jackson to watch him do his first flying lap of quali, as he's just navigating the final few corners. And it's good to see the sun out at Silverstone. It's generally wet and miserable and dreary, and who knows what it'll be like in the race. It may be so. And but for now, we've got some glorious sunshine. Jack's, of course, part of the Ferrari team with Project Ty, who's held me to ransom if he doesn't get plenty of screen time with the 10 drivers on. Then he's prone to cannibalism as he comes round left field, maximising the circuit as much as possible. So he does the run down to Copse Corner, and saves it. It saves it. He doesn't save it. He's in the wall, and he's screen timed himself into an accident. He's not fully out though. He's going to go back into the pits and get a new wing. Copslock is setting another flying lap on these same tyres, so maximising this set as much as possible and saving himself a set of softs for the race as well. Just a 10th up at the moment. He's been setting a couple of times actually, because he's gone faster in his previous lap. So he's probably had quite a bit of fuel in his car as well, and he's lost lots of time. He's 6/10 up, and he's not going to improve on that. He's not going to crawl that back. So I've heard Theo's got the wrong setup on. Rookie mistake from a experienced driver. Metal Mike comes round final couple of corners of Vale and Club, crosses the line and goes up to P5 with a 28.6, and we've lost Jax. Oh no, hopefully the cause of his accident wasn't because he's disconnected, but let's invite him back in. He's not online, so I can't. So he's going to have to get back online. Amadi. What's happened? Like Catanese? Is he having a nap? Napamise? So Amadi. Is he? I think he hasn't. He's maybe only got like one pole this season. Setting his first final lap on set of medium, so he's saving himself some softs. 27.7, 2 tenths behind Theo. I'm sure he's got plenty of time to find, as we've lost Sygate coming out of Chapel. Martin's come around on his outlap, doing a set run on a set of mediums as well. There's Terry's here. Terry's Reds, Mr. Saturday. Some must have some absolutely banging qualifying sessions, but ends up. Jackson's back online. So let me just invite him on. Yeah, has some absolute banging qualifying sessions, and can't replicate that in the race. As Terry's is letting, I think, Callum through. Knows that Callum will potentially catch him during quali and puts pressure under you when you're trying to set your own hot lap. Might even try and get a bit of toe down the straights off Callum to extend Terry's lap time, as Callum is going round again. But we'll jump on with Terry's. We've already done one with Callum, so we'll have a look what Terry's is up to as he works his way down to Village. Far left as possible, ride the curb, ride the apex on the inside, and then round loop. Get some good rotation off the exit, flat out through Aintree. Named after the race course, of course. hosted the F1 5 times, I think. Brakes hard down at Brooklands, and then does the out and back in again for Luffield. Used to be the final corner, of course, before all the changes happened. Out down to Cox, and let's just watch him wing it round the corner. Rides the inside curb, just touches the outside. Can maximise the exit a bit more. But he's keeping it within the white lines. Across the apexes of Magnussen Beckett. And then you want to avoid going too far wide on Chapel. Open up that DRS. And he's a tenth and a half up currently. A little bit of slipstream off the Williams ahead of him. He runs down now to Vale and Club. Nice smooth line on the exit. Don't lose your traction, which he doesn't. Callum extends his time at the top to 26.1. And Terry extends his time for provisional P3 for 27.1. A great lap from him. Let's jump on with Mr. Katames as he's setting his first flying lap. Hopefully he has a good race today. The last couple of races he's had a bit of couple of issues. He's feeling a bit under the weather, but really appreciative of him joining us today for the final race of the season. DRS is open. Hopefully he's got himself a decent setup today. Callum with a 26.1. I am predicting potentially high 25s for pole. Be interesting to see if the Haas is giving a bit of a slipstream there to Katames, which I think he'll really appreciate. Don't think he meant to do that, but Katames will thank him nonetheless. Navigates Magnussen Beckett well. Exits Chapel, DRS open. 103.7 after the second sector. Only 4 corners left to go. He's got to cross this line and go meow, bitch. A little bit lost of traction, but it's not going to lose him too much time as he crosses the line. And provisional P6. As Capstock got himself up to P2. Theo P3, sorry, 27 flat, so he's found a bit more time. Just not enough to get him into the 126s yet, and he's almost a second behind his teammate. Ahmed still setting some laps on those mediums, so it's all love and warfare for him. Bit of fun for him today. Sygate's kept it within the white lines this time. Got best finish P4 at Monza this season. Very consistent. Callum's calling it a day for now. Saving himself a set of tyres. He's got himself a bit of a gap. Doesn't mean he's safe. Still 4 minutes left to go, but yeah, I think you do. But you've got quite a few poles under your name as Sygate goes up to P6 with her on 27.5, just 2 tenths behind Amadi on those mediums. After Mike setting himself another time again, can he improve? He does not improve to stay his P9 for now. Right, let's see Mr. Jack Daniels to see if he can improve. I'm not hitting the wall. Yeah, I don't know, there's probably a couple of drivers I reckon that could get into the 25s, but they need to pull out bank a lap in this last few minutes. Jack's running down to Brooklands. Silverstone declares itself the home of British racing, of course, home of Aston Martin, and what fitter way to end the season for Aston Martin at their home. Used to be RAF Silverstone, where the pilots used to train night bombing in 1943 at the end of World War II. The old airfield used to be surplus requirements. The first unofficial motorsport that happened here was from local enthusiasts. Used to race around the runways and famously hit a sheep. That sheep was no more. As Jax crosses the line, and P9, 28 flat, and I don't think he'll get to do another lap. He'll be struggling, I think. We'll jump on. Let's have a look as Amadi not showing. He's just doing a few laps on mediums. Let's see what Marty can do. He's almost 2/10 up. Who's aiming for the fastest lap for this race to get 6 out of 12. Stealing it from his teammate a couple of times. So I'm wrong. Amadi actually has 3 fastest laps this season. That title does is Callum's at the moment. He does hold 6 fastest laps, 6 poles, sorry. And potentially looking to get another one. He's coming out. He's going for that 125. He was twitching. You can see Caps Lock was crawling closer. As Marty crosses the line and up to P3. Provisional P3 for Marty with 26.8. I think he'll be quite happy with that if that's where he'll stay. With a minute to go. Terry's almost 2 1/4 tenths up. Which should get him into the 126s. Up to P4 for now if he can keep the current pace up, and it will be his fastest run, final run, sorry. We've got Haas going into the pits, that's Callum. As Terry does go up to P4 with the 26.9. Great lap from him. Jax is not going again, so that's him done. Amadi's not going again. Will he have enough time to get to the line? So what can Theo do? He's not that much up on his current lap. He went out and used. Ooh, fail. Oh well. Oh well. If someone nabs this from you, then they absolutely deserve it. So as Theo comes and navigates Mags and Beckett's. The problem is, Callum, I think you're quick and you, yeah. I want Terry's to actually replicate it in the replicate his pace in the race. As Theo crosses the line, goes up P2 with 26.6, just ahead of Caps Lock. We've got next Terry's, who's done his lap. He's not going to improve. Next is Katamis. Can he get himself higher than P8? Can he improve? He does up to P7 with a 27.2. What can Jax do? Stays P9. It's all down to Caps Lock. And we'll stay P3. Amadi will stay P6. So Callum takes the final pole, and he's got that much pole. His clothes are coming off. He's stripping. Ba-da-ba, ba-da-da-ba. And his teammate will join him on the front row. Poor setup on half a second behind. I'm sure he'll do some tinkering, ready for the race. Oi, oi, Savloy. Congratulations to Callum. As we'll wait for Amadi to cross that line. There we have our final grid in order of the season. And it's 10 drivers, but it's a fantastic 10. And fantastically, Callum takes pole with a 26.1. Theo joins him on the front row. Caps Lock P3 and Marty, the lead Aston driver, for the start of this race. P4, Terry's P5. Let's go, Terry's. Let's get yourself on the podium. Armady P6. Katami's P7. Let's hope he finishes the race today. Sygate P8. Jax P9 will be looking for a great result. And Metal Mike, who's Mr. Consistent. See if he can eclipse his highest position of P8 this season. Let's have a predictions. Who we reckon is going to... Oh my God! It's wetter than Stevie Wonder's toilet seat. It's Britain and it's raining. What a surprise! Yeah, it wouldn't be the UK without a bit of rain. Well, I was going to say, the drivers there, you'll be their strategy will be probably going hard to mediums. Nope, you're going on wets. It looks wetter than wet, and I wonder if this will be for the whole season. Might be a bit of a suspect why Theo was a little bit slower. He's got a wet setup for qualifying. You would have thought that quite a few drivers would have had that on, but yeah. Throws a big spanner into the works. Doesn't mean that the order that you see it in or the usual suspects are going to win. It's tricky conditions for everybody, so this could throw the grids completely out of order, especially on first lap antics. If it was me, I'd be trembling like a bride on a wedding night. A virgin bride, that is. What's that track look like? Looks like someone's superimposed it on. Weird. Let's just double check the tyres. So, ooh, 1 or 2 trying out the inters then. The Haas drivers and Armady all thinking the inters will be good enough. If they've made the wrong call, then it could be tricky. Interesting. So, still one stopper, probably pitting about lap 14, 15, depends if the conditions are going to be changing or not. You only want to pit that once. It's about 21 lap pit stop, but a 20-second pit stop. Win the pit lane as well. It goes up to about 37 seconds, so you don't really want to jump in if you don't need to. 5.8 kilometre circuit, 18 quarters. There's no quarters here. 18 corners, 10 to the right, 8 to left, 2 DRS zones, which won't be active in these current conditions. It's a track that encompasses a series of challenging corners and no more challenging than in cups that will go ram down, and even more tricky when the rain's pouring down. It's not going to be flat out anymore. What that does mean, the unofficial mascot, the British hare, won't be out. It doesn't like the rain. It'll be in its burrow watching in the stands. Everyone's got their anoraks and wellies on. Of course, Silverstone was the first GP in 1948 and the venue of the first F1 World Championship event in 1950. Attended by Our Late Majesty the Queen. Had many variations of the circuit having to be changed because of health and safety. In 1973, Jody Scheckler lost his McLaren at Woodcote, hitting the pit wall, caused a mass pile up, which exposed a lot of debris into the stands, and they had to change the corners around Luffield and the chicane at Woodcote, which didn't really slow the driver down. But anyway, everyone's on the grid. It's a run down 296 metres down to turn 1. It's 5 lights. It's lights out and away we go. Hassan got a good launch off the corner, but caps lock. Has he got better traction? Ramadi on the inside, trying to get a better launch. Him and Katami's have got a good launch. Marty and Terry's both losing out. Sygate's lost it on turn 3. But he still managed to stick with the pack. Amadino up to P3. Was the Inter's the better tyre. Caps lock on the inside of Brooklands. Casimir taking a look as well. Amadino on the outside of Lovefields. Williams drivers almost colliding. Caps lock just cutting off Amadei's launch, which opens up the door for Katamis. There's nowhere for Amadei to go there, and they're all colliding, and Amadei just sandwiched between the Williams. It was like pinball, but he's managed to keep himself going, thankfully. Follows the McLaren of Terry's off track, and Jax is now up to P6, capitalising on a bit of errors. Capslock, I think, lost a bit as well with a bit of a collision, which promoted Marty up to P4 and Katamis up to P3. It was very tight between those three. Amadei going off track. Oh, it looks like it's off track. It wasn't though, as we went round Stowe. Amadei now sticking with P7. Both the Hasses have broke away as Theo takes P1 and gets ahead of Callum. Has he got a bit more pace on him than his teammate? Callum letting him past. As I said, as his setup designed, as Katamis rides the curb of Village a bit too much. Village corner named after Village. Just nearby it. Some things are just so simple. The train here now. Amadei's joining behind Jax. Sygate getting past Metal Mike. Down to Brooklands. Good overtake from Sygate. I think these two will be having quite a bit of a battle. Metal Mike choosing to drive Shrek's bogey today. He's struggling a bit on these wets and these conditions. Katamis, I think, is caught. The Haas driver's ahead of him and maybe faring a bit better on these wet tyres. Setting the fastest second sector. Amadei overtaking Jax. On the run down to Stowe. He's on the outside. Jax is getting... There's nowhere for him to go ahead with Capslock squeeze ahead of him, and Marty's Capslock gets himself back up to P4 on the outside of Vale. There's 4 wide, and how have they all made it? That's absolutely fantastic driving. And the Aston Martin drivers are the ones that lose out. Amadei struggling to get past his teammates. Marty goes ahead of Jax. Abbey. Side by side. Again, Amadei's got nowhere to go. Marty on the inside of Village. Which means Jax will have the inside of turn 4. And brilliant driving there from those three. Which is a bit of space for Capslock to have a bit of breathing space. Katamis still reasonably sticking with the Haas drivers. He usually has a setup built for straight corners. Just drops a bit off now, about half a second. Can he close that in or not? Time will tell. Jax is leading, pulling the Aston drivers as Marty lets Amadei through. Good team play there from Marty. Doesn't want to hold Amadei up as Amadei's right on the gearbox of Jax. You can't overtake during Magnus and Beckett's though, unless you're an absolute madman or got the skills like Amadei does. As he takes a look for the overtake going down to Stowe on the outside and makes the move stick. Good drive there from Amadei. Jax will look to fight again another day. Move now has been dropped another half a second to the Haas drivers who've now got themselves settled. And they've chosen to be brave on those intermediates. And it seems to be paying off as Callum takes the current provisional fastest lap. We're nose arcing it at the moment. 2 by 2. The Haas drivers and Williams drivers. Amadi now closed in on caps lock. He's an absolute bullet train. A couple of iffy first laps. He's got his foot to the floor. Now we want to close on those Haas drivers. Has a look on the outside of Brooklands. As Capslock defends the inside, the side-by-side going around Luffield. Plenty of room left by Amadi and Capslock, but Capslock has a slot behind Amadi. Brilliant, brave driver for both in these conditions. And Amadi now up to P4. Jack just can't stick with them, so stays with P6 for now. Next down the line for Amadi is Catanese. He won't be an easy customer. He's got 4 seconds to make up. He's already dropped Capslock by second. Teammate Marty, P7. Struggling a bit in these conditions. Can't keep up with the pace of Jax. He's dropping a couple of tenths each corner. As Jax has now caught up to Capslock. Really getting that fastest lap. Ahead of his teammate Amadi. Showing the speed now 2.8 seconds behind Catanese. Gained 1.2 seconds in the space of a few corners. And Marty's going in the pits. What's happened to Marty? He decided to go on the intermediates. And he can potentially he doesn't have to stop again if they'll last to the end of the race. Good call from Marty. Really is realising he's losing plenty of time. And we'll have plenty of free air to pump in some laps. Sygate's caught up to Terry's. And showing a bit more confidence in these conditions than his teammate. Will his teammate have a bit of a battle with him? Or will he let him through? What they don't want to do is collide. It'd be valuable points for the McLaren drivers. There's still a bit of a fight in the standings with them, with no Red Bull drivers today. They just need to score some points. They're 23 points behind the Red Bull. I think they'll struggle to catch Haas now, especially with Haas being at the front, unless they collide themselves. But could be finishing P4 in the constructors, which will be a fantastic showing from these pair. Sygate's still behind, has dropped a little bit behind his teammate now. Jack's still stuck behind Capslock. Saying that, Capslock is trying to go into the pits, and I think he'll be making a decision to go on the intermediates. Has followed the same decision as Marty. Marty's just coming round down to Stone. And he does, as Marty gets himself track limits, which he'll be absolutely kicking himself about. It's going to be tight. Capslock coming out. I think he'll be just ahead of Marty. So timed that well with his battle with Marty. He's just coming round. Down to Village. And Marty is not as close as I thought. It's about 2 seconds. But Marty's tyres will be up to temperature compared to Capslock. A very good early call from those pair. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the other wet drivers coming in as well. As you can see, the cleared water off the racing line. Amadi's now up to P3, getting ahead of Catanese, and has pulled 1.2 seconds ahead. Gap now between the Haas drivers. Callum struggling to stick with Theo. And we'll see how Amadi pushes on those Haas drivers. 4.8 currently. We'll keep an eye as the race unfolds. Gains a couple of tenths as we speak. Sygate's still stuck behind his teammate. Not forcing it just quite yet, picking his moment. As I mentioned, Jax comes in and makes the call to jump onto the intermediates. Will these inters last to the end? That'll be the only question. They're going to last about 20 laps, which I think it is possible, to be fair. I think it is possible. And he does. As both McLarens will go through. Metal Mike will go through as well. And get himself up to P7. Caps Lock maybe just. It's going to be tight. As Jax is exiting. Caps Lock is coming round and just comes out just ahead. And sandwiches himself in between Caps Lock and Marty. So we're going to have a three-way battle here between these three. All fantastic drivers around a similar pace. So I think we're going to see some great moves unfold. But of course, as mentioned, Jax's tyres will be not up to temperature compared to Caps Lock's and Marty's. Lap 7 out of 26. Theo still leading the race, and he's pulled a gap now between him and his teammate. 1.8 seconds. Ahmadi's closing in on Callum. Now 3.6. He's gained 1.2 since we highlighted this charge. And he's been in charge of the championship all season. And he's in charge now. He should be in the Red Bull because he's a raging bull. As Theo takes provisional past this lap of 39.6. There's Ahmadi 39 flat. And that shows the pace that this guy is absolutely strumming. And I can't believe this guy is on controller either. Brilliant skill on show here. Katami's now the next one to decide to go into those intermediates. McLaren's just coming round Club and may get out just ahead. I think they will. They've of course still got a pit. We're not for a while, and up to P4, P5 respectively for those pair. Metal Mike coming through as well, but I think Katami's will get out just ahead. It's going to be tight. He does, just ahead of Metal Mike. As Cygate does get ahead of Terry's now. Great overtake from Cygate down into Village. As Terry's is drifting. This isn't Tokyo Drift. You're not part of a franchise. As Caps Lock makes the move on Metal Mike up to P7. Slots behind his teammate now. Marty. Jax making the move on Metal Mike. Round left field, great overtake. Good camera shot there from our eye in the sky. Back to you, Tim Robbins. And Jax up to P8. And next look to charge down Caps Lock. Marty's dropped from the guys ahead. Still not showing the confidence on these tyres in these conditions. Will these conditions stay as they are as Ahmadi? Another 39 flat. And now 2.5 seconds behind Callum as Terry's is having none of that. I think Cygate's had a bit of an issue coming out of Chapel because Katami's has made a move as well. Both Terry's and Katami's now. Overtaking Cygate, and that's a shame. Cygate was actually running fantastically, and I think that's Terry's in the pits. And moving on to the intermediates. Him and his teammate and Metal Mike to jump in. Metal Mike follows as well, realising that it's not as wet as it could be. Cygate the only one left now to jump in. There's Caps Lock overtakes him as well. Cygate goes offline and Jax takes the opportunity on turn 2. A brilliant opportunity taken there by Jax. You love to see it. Very, very brave, because you've got to trust the driver that's making a move. They can see you coming. So applause there to Cygate as well, who's having to drive in the wet to try and keep his tyres to temperature. See he's struggling a bit on these tyres. And Marty's closing in on those intermediates. Cygate will definitely see him going in the pits next to get onto those intermediates. Theo's absolutely storming. Absolutely storming. 2.1 seconds ahead of Callum. As Ahmadi's now 2.1 seconds and get into the 38s. That's a track limits for Katami's. He'll be kicking himself with that. All he needed was one of the drivers ahead to have a bit of an incident, and they'll be on the in a podium position. He's under threat for being overtaken on track now by his teammate, who's got Jax for company. Currently, P6 has caught up to him. Marty's managed to make the move on Cygate. On the run down to Stowe, as Cygate, as mentioned, does go into the pits to switch tyres. He would have been double stacked behind his teammate if he went in before. I think he'll be taken by Terry's and Metal Mike as he's in the pits. Callum not as fast as his... Oh, he goes a little bit wide and nearly loses it as he drifts onto the curb. Managed to keep his car in control, and he's trying to push as much as possible. I think Zamadi followed exactly the same line as him. Probably caught in a bit in his dirty air. As I said, Cygate does come up behind Terry's and Metal Mike into P10. Callum 3 seconds behind his teammate Amadine, now under 2. This could get tasty between these two. They've had some fantastic battles during the season. Theo putting the hammer down now, a 38.3. I think he's been hiding a bit of pace to pull that time out of the bag. I think he's just been sitting on a bit of ERS, maybe a bit of fuel management. Yeah, put the charge on now. And Ahmadi's closing in on Callum. Callum shaking like a shitting dog. His tyres are just not into temperature. Going into the water. Just pulling out of line, so Ahmadi doesn't use his slipstream. Jack's still not quite close enough to make the move on caps lock. Biding his timing. I've got a fly in front of me. It's one of those little tiny little fruit fly pluckers. And it's pissing me off. I'll get it. I'll get the little bastard. ID drops a little bit now. Seems to be losing a little bit of time round cops. I think Callum's pushing a bit more. And Ahmadi's making up through Marcus and Beckett's. I think Callum's probably been doing a bit of the same as Theo. He's pulled a bit of time back. And he's probably been doing a little bit of fuel saving or ERS saving. As that gap is closing ever so slightly. Cygate's closed in on Metal Mike. 7 tenths behind. I won't see much fresher tyres, to be fair. It's only a lap. Pushing with all his might. No better place to make a move. As Jax is right up behind Caps Lock as they're coming around Stowe. And down to Vale. As Metal Mike goes a little bit wide round Cops. Cygate keeping it within the white lines, and that's what he's got to do for the rest of the race. We don't want him to get another track limits penalty. Is he close enough to make the move quite? I don't think he is without DRS. It's difficult to make the move as the rain is slowing down. Will we get a dry end to this race and just... Ooh, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Ooh. Ooh. Jack's still struggling to get round as they're hitting Brooklands and Lovefields. As Capstock goes a little bit wide and Jack's concertinas, and he's closed in now to 3 tenths. And we'll be looking at the hanger straight to make a move. Ahmadi's now under half a second behind Callum as he's closed in. And just 4 tenths as we're exiting and starting lap 13 for them. And Ahmadi setting the fastest up again with a 38.3 just ahead of Theo's. And he's absolutely pushing. This might be it here for Jax if he can make the move. Right at the end of the hanger straight. Is he close enough? Not quite yet. Right inside curve a bit too much. Nearly got his tyres dirty riding on the grass. Maybe having a bit of a look. I'm just showing quite a bit of extra pace. Has to afford himself a bit of open air to get a good exit. As we start another lap for him. As Cygate makes the move up to P9. Down the hanger. A great overtake on Metal Mike. Cygate up to P9. There's Armady side by side with Callum. At the start, Magnus and Beckett has to slot behind. Callum is the screaming baby. And Armady is the single mum pushing him around. They're that close. Their mother and child. Not close enough to make the move. Armady's had to drop a little bit behind. Callum going a little bit wide on Stowe, which opens the door for Armady on the inside of Vale. Has to just slot again behind Callum. In these conditions, it's tricky braking. You've got to be sure that you're going to make the overtake as Theo sets another fastest lap of 37.8, so the first in the 37s. And as I said, Cygate gets himself another track limits, which he can't afford to do. Armady biding his time. We're just over halfway through this race. Plenty of time to go. It's a little bit wide, which will open up the exit to the corner for him. Flat out round Abbey. Aintree, apologies. Callum going offline again to try and stop that slipstream. Armady is closed in. He's almost that close. He's going to be the human centipede. Jackson's just dropped a little bit now from Catslock. Probably doing a little bit of tyre wear and fuel saving. Either that or he's a little bit of incident, but just over a second now. Can he close in and try and make that move? Catslock defending well. Metal Mike trying to stick with Cygate as well. Cygate trying to look towards his teammate. Harry's has just not managed to keep the pace to Marty. He'll be hoping that the two drivers ahead of him will be battling to close the gap for him. He's now under 11 seconds. There's Armady and Callum side by side as we exit the final corners. And Armady's now up to P2 and has split those Haas drivers. And Callum will be having none of that, and he just needs to stick with Armady. Had a great few 2-3 laps keeping Armady behind. But can he stay with Armady now? He's passed him. These three, of course, have all still got a pit. It's Callum again, so it looks like he's having a bit of tyre temperature issues. Still saves himself in P3. Seems that Catslock's got himself settled now, and is 2.5 seconds behind his teammate. Of course, we'll jump him on track with penalties, how it currently stands. Bragging rights is on track, of course. That's now 2 seconds. And again, potentially just doing a bit of saving. We're at the time of the race now where you've got to try and save your tyres or save your fuel so you can have a push near the end. Got 12 laps to go. As Theo sets another fastest lap, and he's absolutely storming. Almost 5.5 seconds ahead. Callum's just clinching on for dear life, trying to stick with Armady. I have a feeling he'll potentially just drop out of that 1 second zone. It might benefit him if he does to save himself a bit of tyres, and he does. Either that, he just can't keep the pace of Amadi. Just pulling his tyres down again a bit. It's very, very light rain. Will it be dry enough? Will there be a dry line enough to anyone brave the slicks, I wonder? I'll tell you how, but he wouldn't. If I did, I'd have to be wearing some nappies, and yeah, you can see he's struggling with tyre temperatures, Callum, now. As the inters have worn off. And it's just dropped a couple of tenths to Amadi. He's looking to close the gap on Theo. Now just over 5 seconds. With 11 laps left. Marty going into the pits again, getting some fresh inters. So it's probably safe to say those inters won't go to the end of the race. Just slots behind Terry's. He's the sandwich between the McLaren bread. As Sygate's been closing on his teammates. He's only 1.5 seconds behind Marty, and Marty and Terry's will be battling. Will be all the better for Sygate. Well, let's see Sygate going wide again on Brooklands. It's the thing, if I have to say when we go into next season, the thing that Sygate needs to work on is keeping it within the white lines. He does rack up quite a few penalties, but it all comes with practice. Closing in. He's now 1.2 seconds behind Terry's and Marty, who's right on the gearbox of Terry's. We've got a three-way battle here for P7. Caps lock now 1.5 seconds as Callum gets himself a track limits, and Marty gets past Terry's. Doesn't battle him too hard as he knows Marty's on fresher tyres. Callum gets himself a track limits, which will hamper his chances of a race win, unless one of the other two ahead of him will get a penalty also. There's Marty, almost a second ahead. He is a second ahead of Terry's, who's now got his teammate company. And it's as you were before the pit stops. Terry struggled there on turn 3. It looked like he turned in a little bit too early and put himself completely offline, which has opened the door for Sygate to jump right in his slipstream and potentially make an overtake down the Wellington. He's not quite close enough to make the move just yet. Terry's will be defending hard from his teammate. Sygate's in the slipstream. Takes a sly little look at Cops, but I wouldn't do it if I were you. Otherwise we'd have another Hamilton Verstappen scenario. Wah, wah, wow. Sygate. Oh, he's like he's on his tow bar. Is he close enough to make move? A little bit loss of traction on the exit of Chapel. That might hamper his chances of an overtake. And it's not quite yet. There's Metal Mike lurking in the background. Currently 4.7 seconds as Sygate does make the move. Terry's goes wide on Stowe. I don't know if that was purpose or not, but it does promote Sygate as surprise, surprise. Look who it is, it's Cilla Black with the fastest lap. I don't know if he'll keep it though, because the front three has still got a pit. But Marty gets himself a current provisional fastest lap. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. Theo just over 4 seconds ahead of Amadi. Both these still yet to pit. Will they need to pit? I don't think you have to if you're on inters and wets, but their tyres will be screaming. Be interesting to see if Callum will. He's dropped down to 4 seconds behind Amadi. And you can see the track's drying up now. Really, it's still spitting. But is that dry line dry enough to do a slick run? Only the drivers will know. What I can see with my beady eyes is not what they're feeling on track, but it'd be interesting to see if anyone makes that call. Caps Lock now 1.2 seconds behind his teammate, closing in. As Amadi now gets the track limits, which what that does mean is that if Theo avoids a penalty, this P1, which he's been hankering all season, he's unfortunately missed out on 1 or 2 circumstances for different reasons, will get his first win for Lights Out League Racing and this season. As Terry's now jumping in, switching onto some fresh enters, or is he going to brave it and go on to some dries? Drum roll, please. And it's some more enters. Will we see Terry steal the fastest lap from Marty? Marty will be fuming if he does. As Everton take the lead 2-1. That's absolutely hit. Oh, it's disallowed. Oh. Sunderland do go 2-0 up there, which is good. Helps my bets for today. Betting's not good, kids. Stay in school. Theo 3.5 seconds ahead of Amadi now with 7 laps to go. He's just overtaken and lapped Metal Mike. Amadi didn't seem like he took that Cops corner too well, but currently P2. 5.5 seconds ahead of Callum, who seems like he's just strolling for now. Will we see those guys pit? Academy's P4 does have that track limits and has dropped Caps Lock a little bit, but Caps Lock will get promoted on penalties if he doesn't get one himself. Jack's currently just rolling in P6, no man's land. I think he'll be happy with P6. It matches his. I think it matches his best finish for the season. No, it eclipses. His best one is P7 for now, so it'll be his best finish for the season. No better than the final race. Marty running P7, currently has the fastest lap. He'll be absolutely laughing. He'll be laughing right now. He'll just be hoping no one steals it from him. Sygate P8. Metal Mike just closing in and getting lapped by Amadi. And Terry's P10. Can he get himself a fastest lap on the board? It's the only reason he'd probably pit. Let's see what he can do. Sygate gets himself. No, I want him to surprise me then. We got a yellow flag. Yellow flag. It's Sygate who's lost it coming out of Cops. And that's unfortunate. It's a VSC. His wheels spinning like crazy in these conditions. It's not a full safety car, it is a VSC, so hopefully no one gets any silly penalties. And the Haas has to let us. Oh, that's unfortunate for the Haas of overtaking Sygate. And that was Callum overtaking Sygate and lapping him. But because of the VSC, you end up getting a yellow flag. And it's dropped him further behind. Marty pitting again. And he's going on softs. He's doing it! He's doing it! Oh, this will be interesting. This will be interesting. I don't think anyone would really benefit from doing so if they at this stage of the race. But he's just doing it for the bants. He's having a right laugh as Metal Mike comes round. Abbey just behind Marty, so it'll be interesting to see what he does here. So he's closing See what he can do. This will be interesting. He is closing quite quickly, actually, on Jax. He's just trying to warm his tyres up for now. 53.4, 53.1. Oh, he's closing quickly on Jackson. Although Jackson on 14 lap hold enters. Terry sets himself track limits, and Jax is jumping into the pits as well. I think he's having a go on softs too. This will be interesting to see who can nab this fastest lap at the end. I've seen Marty jump on, and he's making the moves. Katamise gets himself another track limit, which would consolidate that P4 for caps lock. With Marty coming down the hanger straight, still got Metal Mike for company, which means Jax will still come out in P6. But it's a race here for Metal Mike trying to make an overtake on Marty. Marty being brave there and trusting Metal Mike will stay out of it. As Terry's getting past his teammate. Down the hanger straight. Going to have up to P9. Sygate's got wing damage, he does. He's just going to the end of the race now with 4 laps to go. Terry's has got fastest lap with 36.2. Get on you, Terry's! I have a potential feeling it might get nabbed by one of these on the softs. It'll be interesting to see. But Terry's is currently the one with the fastest lap belt. And Liverpool 2-1 now. And my cheer has gone out the window. Boo! Boo! Marty just goes round cups. Still got a bit of Metal Mike with him, so I don't know if that's benefit him at all. Being on the softs, so it'd be interesting to see. That racing line's disappeared now, so it just means the track has dried up a bit, but I don't know if it's dry enough. The game said it set the fastest set in second sector. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this unfolds. Caps Lock has closed on his teammate. Katamise lets him pass now with those track limits, gives him a little wiggle. As Theo takes the fastest lap now with 35.8. Oh, it's unfortunate for Terry's, but Marty takes it with 35.2. Those softs have done him well. What can Jax Daniels do? Can he take it from him, or will Marty claim fastest first sector from Jax? As he comes round Luffield. It's about being brave on this compound and these conditions. It's not fully dry. Can Jax get himself that extra point for fastest lap? And those bragging lights, he has P6 nailed on. As Katamise is jumping in now. He wants some of the action. He's been overtaken by his teammate. And he's thinking, why not? Fuck it. I'm going for it too. Fastest second sector from Jax Daniels. His race for fastest lap is on. As Katamise goes on those softs, Mr. Speed Demon himself, Mr. 00 Wings, wants a piece of the pie. As he comes round Vale and Club, round the final corner, a little bit of a drift. Can he take fastest lap? Goes wide, but he takes it anyway. 34.8. If it was real life, it wouldn't give it to him, but we would. We do here. Jax currently has fastest lap. Marty will be having none of that and will be retaining some ERS and tyre wear to try and take it back. He takes it back again straight away. 34.1. What will Jax do? Down to you, my friend. Down to you. And Katamise has got a couple of laps, maybe even just one lap, I think, to do this. DRS is now enabled, and that says it's dry enough. Who will take this final fastest lap of the race and the season? Theo now 1.6 seconds ahead on the penultimate lap from Armadee. who's jostling with his teammate who he's lapped. Amadi needs to overtake Theo and beat him by 3 seconds. But it does mean with the DRS enabled, this track is drying up. Sygate's jumping on as well. He wants a bit of the action. Will he have enough time to do so? We've got a yellow flag, and I think it's Marty letting his teammate go. And just drops a little bit behind now, so yeah, Amadi still needs to get past him and get ahead of him by 3 seconds to claim the victory of this race. Callum now 15 seconds behind. He just hasn't clicked and found his rhythm, unlike his teammates. Caps Lock P4, brilliant, consistent race from him. He's been an absolute star this season. Of course, got himself on the podium at Qatar with a P3. And he's been very, very consistent pace. A couple of P4s as well. And we'll get another one in his pocket. What can Catanese do on this flying lap? Would have had some DRS as well. Can Jack get some DRS? So he's not quite close enough to Catanese, but would jump him on penalties if he could stay within the penalty zone. We've got a yellow flag. I think it's Sygate letting those guys past. Jack's getting himself track limits as well. Oh no. I think Catanese has got 2 though, so he still might jump him if he stays within 3 seconds. These guys are on the final lap. Obviously still 1.7 seconds, so Theo's been absolutely storming. Flawless. Shimmering. Some English Lion on Silverstone on the final race of the season. He's been a joy this season. Amadi has lost it on Stowe. Right, congratulations to Theo as he comes around the final corner. Marty takes the fastest lap with a 32.3, but Theo takes his first win for Lights Out League Racing, his first win of the season. What's happened to Amadi? He's crashed it, or he's damaged it underside of his car. Loses it on the final corner. I don't know what's happened to Amadi, but Callum takes P2. What happened to Amadi? He's on 3 wheels. Takes P3. And I don't think Caps Lock is close enough to take the podium, but his front axle's completely fucked. He's on 3 wheels. What happened? What did he even hit? I'll be interested to see the view in his car. That's look at his car. He's limping like a leper. Caps Lock P4. Congratulations to him. What an absolute brilliant driver he's been this season. Catanese, his teammate, limping home. He might even take fastest lap. I'll keep my mouth shut until he crosses the line. He does. Catanese takes P5 and the fastest lap from Marty. Gets jumped by Jax up to P5. Congratulations, Jax, for his highest finish of the season. Catanese takes fastest lap. Marty P7. Metal Mike up to P8 and matches his final best finish of the season. Marty's still got time to take the fastest lap from Catanese. Does he do so? I don't think he does. And that is it. As Marty comes home and finishes P7. Amadi had 90% wear in that last and his tyre punctured. Absolute bummer. And ended up losing the silver. Loses P2, but it does give a 1-2. And look at that dance. Look at that shimmy from Theo. He's not an English Lion. He's a Swedish meatball. And takes his first P1 of the season and for Lights Out League Racing. Congratulations to Theo. Brilliant, brilliant drive from him. Callum was on pole, Mr. Pole, gets himself P2, and Amity on the third step. Caps lock, P4, down from P3. Jack's getting himself up to P5, P9. Storming drive from him, best finish of the season. Katamy's P6 and the fastest lap. Marty P7 will be shaking his fist in the air. Metal Mike P8, well done to him, up from P10. And the McLarens P9 and 10. Terry's having a little go at that fastest lap, but just not quite for him this season. Well, that is it for us this season. It's not fully confirmed yet, but we are looking to go in about 3 weeks' time for season 27. If you've been watching and you love and you want to be a part of this action, jump in the Discord link, which is in the is below the video, and we'll have a chat. But if not, keep watching the action. My name is Alex. This is Lights Out League Racing. It's been a pleasure to be part of this. Peace out.